The probably most visible difference in production mode is that static assets will not be symlinked or generated on the fly. Magento expects those files to already exist. The command bin Magento setup static content deploy needs to be executed. All assets under pep static will then be created as actual files, so they will mask any changes to the sources. No symlinks are used. If a file is missing, Magento will generate a 4 not found response. Let's have a look. So here is a CSS file that's included on the page. Let me copy the path and let's inspect it. So it's a regular file. Now I want to remove it. And we can see it's gone. If I reload, there's a 4.4 error. However, since version 2.2.4, there is a configuration setting that can be written to app/etc/env.php in order to allow static assets to be generated on demand in production mode too. This configuration setting is not exposed through the admin user interface, so it has to be added manually or through some custom means. The key to add to this file is static content on demand in production. So let's try this out. Now, if I reload, the file is back. Let's have a look. This time it's a symlink, just like in developer mode. This option to generate the static assets on the fly can make the build phase a lot shorter because you don't have to run static content deploy. But you probably want to warm some key pages after the deployment, preferably in an automated fashion. If JavaScript or CSS minification or merging was enabled, this will also work with static content on demand in production. JavaScript bundling does not work, however. Those files will not be created on the fly. Magento will simply use the regular require.js loading process. In case minification or merging is enabled, the file will be recreated as a regular file, not a symlink. Another difference in production mode is that PHP stack traces are hidden. Instead, a generic message with an error report number is displayed. The stack trace then can be found in a file with the report number as the file name in the var reports directory. Let's have a look here in index.php. I want to throw an exception. Now I want to flush the full page cache. And reload the demo page. And look at this. We only see this error log number. So I'll copy that number and we can see the stack trace in var reports and that number. There it is. And it's JSON, so it's actually not that easy to read as a human. Okay, I want to fix this again. And we're back. So let's have a look at another difference, which is that errors in XML files simply cause those files to be ignored. No exception is thrown like in developer mode. So here, if I create some invalid markup again and flush the configuration cache, and reload, this will give us a 404 page because the route is not known anymore since the file was invalid. The file was simply ignored. Okay, time to fix it again. Good. Magento uses logging extensively, but debug messages are ignored by default, and even if they were enabled in the backend during developer mode, in production mode, debug logging is always disabled. I can't even show you the settings here in the browser because the developer section is completely hidden. All the developer options are not available in production mode. So if we wanted to enable minification or merging, for example, we would have to do that in developer mode and then switch to production mode. Another difference is that caching cannot be disabled in production mode. The disable enable option is gone. It still works on the console though. Let's disable config and full page cache, for example. Now if I reload this page, they are correctly displayed as disabled. One last note before we move on. It is widely believed that generated PHP classes are not created on the fly in production mode. Usually they are compiled during a build before deploying to a production system by running the command bin magento set up the iCompile. However, it's not true that they're not generated on the fly if they are missing. If a generated class isn't there, it will be generated on the fly in production mode also, just like in developer mode. It's probably best not to rely on this behavior though, as it might change in future, but I think it might be helpful. Maybe you want to deploy a quick fix on a live system one day, who knows. So, let's summarize the differences in production mode. First, static assets are not created on the fly unless configured with the static content on demand in production option. PHP stack traces are hidden. XML files with errors are silently ignored. Caching cannot be disabled in the admin UI. Debug logging is always disabled. And the developer section of Stores Configuration Advanced is hidden.